Good evening and welcome. It is a wonderful Monday night. And because John is back, the technology ghosts, gurus, whatever you want to call it, that created the snafus, not gurus, snafus,
Snappers.
that happened last week are not present. So here we are. We are here. And of course, I said that and I jinxed us. So I'm
No, no,
sorry,
no. We're
guys.
actually showing up. It's great. I see
Oh,
Cubby,
okay.
I see Dan, and I see myself. So
Wow.
fantabulous.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. And so thank you very much for joining us tonight. I mean, because there's some game that they decide to put on our show. Our show is going on.
Yeah, I
How
don't
dare
understand
they
it.
interrupt
I don't
and try
understand.
and put something like that on TV?
That's just crazy talk, I'm saying. So tonight, guys, we're gonna hit a topic you guys were gonna hit last Monday, and I because I think this is a great topic, and it's still early in the year, so that we can hit it. But talking about goals and realistic goals that a person can attain for the year, and I think we almost need to talk about the difference between a resolution, because when I was talking to Cubby there a little earlier, he was talking about the this past Friday. And Cubby, go ahead, and for those that why that past Friday is an important day for some people.
It's the Quitters Day. It's where people do make New Year's resolutions, and this past Friday, the 10th of January, is called Quitters Day, where people fail to do their New Year's resolutions. So, like whether it's going to a gym or whether it's eating right or whatever, January 10th is the day they called Quitters Day.
So that's where the resolution part of it comes in. When you hear people talk about resolutions and such, many times it's like this. It almost feels more like a dream, and I think that's why Quitters Day exists. And talking goals, I think we're looking at a little bit different, kind of a different thing. When you guys were coming up with the topic, I guess, what were your thoughts of when people are making goals? What should they be thinking about, or how should they be putting these things together?
One of the reasons why I like the idea of going down the goal route, especially versus the resolution, is because with resolutions, it almost feels like the do or die, right? I screwed up. All right, well, resolution's over. I guess I'll wait till next year. Where goals, if you got the right frame of mind around what you're trying to do, um, it's something that you're not going to really necessarily finish until the year is out. So rather than having this do or die, it's always something that you can be working towards. It's always something that you can be focused on. Unless the thing is by January 10th, I'm going to have 80 weddings on the books. It's something that you're looking down the road to be able to try and improve upon, work on to reach a new level of something.
Yeah, that,
Yeah,
that
what Dan said.
yeah, they're reaching new levels. Excellent. I was just reading Eric here. He's already messed up on his resolution for the year. He's
Uh-oh.
basically better luck next year. Try again in 2026.
Don't give up. Restart,
And
man.
I
Restart.
think that's a lot of people kind of look at it that way, is how Eric threw it out there. Obviously, he did that in jest, but I think that's real, and and there's some things that happens. So we've each set some goals, whether it's a business goal or personal goal or what have you. And I didn't. I was chatting with Cubby earlier. He's like, "Yeah, I've got some business goals that I put together for the year," and I'm thinking, I don't think I'd put together any business goals for this year, because, the direction of where life has taken me has taken. That isn't a driving factor for what I do anymore. So that'll obviously be an area you guys go. I've not that I don't have a goal for the year with some things, but not that. So, when you're setting goals, what kind of things were you looking at doing? Let's cover. You've already got your goals. Let's start. What were you, not specific goals, but what were you looking to set goals in? Which areas of your business?
Growth, sales, and productivity, maybe, I
Okay.
guess, because I mean, when we get to my goals, you see what the productivity is, kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So when we get to my goals, you see what the growth is, the productivity is, type thing.
And Dan, your areas?
Marketing and number of events.
Hmm. Okay. And of course, I just strictly was a personal goal, and I mentioned it online, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Because even after we talked earlier, Cubby, I couldn't come up with some business goals of what I wanted to put in stone and to really aim for and achieve, because I don't know. In we'll talk about this probably off air. Why any goal I would have talked to you about earlier today, this afternoon, went completely out the window. So
Oh,
we'll and it was related to what we were talking about when
yeah,
you asked me about, and it's like, no, yeah. So
never
anyway,
gonna happen.
no, I didn't, and then an hour later, things happen. So let's dive into a little bit of goals, and for those of you out there who have never really set goals, we're going to kind of talk about their goals that the guys have set, and then we're going to take them apart and make sure that we have them structured in ways that'll be beneficial in the long term. And sometimes when you're doing this by yourself, you can do it and do it really well. Sometimes it's kind of nice to be able to share them with people and then have them look at them and kind of bounce them back and forth a little bit to hone them or to make them more attainable. And that's kind of what we're wanting to do. My goal is to put on my underwear without falling over. Eric, you say that in jest, but that's actually not a bad goal. And I think we're going to, I want to dig into that one a little bit later, because we could actually have some fun with that one. Not in a humorous type of way, but I mean, I think we could actually demonstrate the ideas behind what it would take to achieve that goal.
Because they say we could demonstrate putting our underwear on. I'm like, I don't think we're going to have a show much longer if we start taking things off.
No, that's the other show. That's the the after party show where we do the.
That's the one that's only on OnlyFans.
Yeah,
you pay us to keep it on.
I'm not wearing any pants, so I don't know.
Yeah, who wears those?
It's like those newscasters that you see from the waist up. They're usually wearing shorts underneath. You know, they have like a full suit on, but they're like wearing shorts underneath. The newscasters.
They look great from the up.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. Dan, what do you got for kind of start us off here with your goal and kind of what your thoughts are behind it?
So I guess the one kind of leads into the other, but I set this goal for myself for last year, and it's weird because in some aspects last year when I set the goal, I set it as a way to limit myself. And I found that it did well. So last year I had I kind of put a limit on myself, and I said I'm not going to do any more than 20 weddings. 20 weddings was my limit. And when the year finished, because I ended up having a wedding that canceled, or I should say they moved it way up. And when they moved it, I was no longer available. So I ended up with 19. And when I look back on my year, it really allowed me and afforded me the opportunities to do a lot of things with my family. It allowed me to reach some of the personal goals that I had for myself. And some of those personal goals are carrying over into this year, but they really kind of afforded me that opportunity to do it. And so fast forward to this year, I started looking at my goals, and let me also add one thing. When I looked at my bottom line at the end of the year, I was happy with it. Right? Like it wasn't one of those things where I said, okay, I'm only going to do 20 weddings. And at the end of the year, I went, well, that really cut into my bottom line. When I looked at it, it was still a wage that I was comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
It was still a wage. Me, the amount of money I brought in with those weddings, it was something that I was comfortable with. So fast forward to this year, I'm looking at it again. Now it's kind of funny because I said I'm going to put that same limit. I want to do 20 weddings. But I'm at a different starting point than I was at this point last year. I'm a little bit kind of behind from where I was at this point last year, because I think I was closer around 15. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to add 5 and then I'm going to stop. This year, I'm looking to add 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
That'd put me then 18 to 20. I just keep running into, they keep wanting the same weekends that I'm already booked, right? Like that's the one, that's been my biggest obstacle. And I'm sure a lot of you feel that same pain. Like no matter what happens, you book somebody and then you get 15 inquiries for that exact same date. If you're a single op, that's a headache. If you're a multi-op, it's a dream come true if you've got the people. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's 6 to 8. And I feel that the marketing, which we'll get into later, is what I need to do to try and potentially obtain the other goal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so the goal of booking 20 shows for the year, kind of looking at the different elements of judging a goal. First off is the specific. Is it a specific thing that Dan's talking about and not generalizing? Meaning he's wanting to book 20 shows and not saying I want to book more shows. If he's going to say I want to book more shows, then that's a tough. How do you measure more? Is more 1? Is more 5? He's got a number there, 20. Good. He's there. It's measurable because it's a number that is there, and he knows if he does 18, he hasn't quite achieved. 20 he has, and yes, he could exceed his goal. Is this something that is achievable? This is one of them that can be tough, because if I go and say I want my goal to be 40 weddings a year, there's no way in central Minnesota I'm most likely going to be able to book 40 weddings that I personally will do. Our season isn't that long. We don't have weddings at different times of the year for whatever reasons. It's not achievable. Dan's 20, I think in his market with what he does, is very achievable. With that, he may need to do some additional things to pick up those last 8 shows, but overall, it is an achievable goal. And then the last one is kind of a timing thing. Is there a time limit on this one where he will be able to tell if he has failed? Usually the fail is where, and obviously if he gets to the point in the season where he's done with his wedding season, he hasn't booked. Yes, there's his finality of it. It's a time thing. These are all little elements of setting a goal, and you use that to kind of gauge if it's a goal that will be successful or not. So
I've often heard it referred to as a SMART goal.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is a good idea type of goal, but
the acronym.
S is specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and timely.
Very good.
So
that's exactly where.
Listen, I remembered something from my education days.
Yeah, boy. I think we spent money to go to college to learn that one.
That was a PD day. Somebody drilled it into my head.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So looking at that particular goal, though, just as now we're talking as friends, just saying, I think the toughest part is going to be, how do you get those last 8? What's it going to take to get those last 8? And I think you want to talk about marketing, and that probably will fit into that. So let's come back, put a pin in it. I think let's jump to Cubbie. What's one of your?
I want to grow, and as far as my growth is, I want to hire another DJ to be ready by the fall.
Okay.
So my growth is, we're at where our numbers are at last year, this year. My guys are like Dan; they have certain numbers they want to do, and we're kind of already there already. So I want to bring on, because we have the business, we're turning away business. So I want to be able to find one more, and I am a stickler. I'm not going to hire somebody right just because I know, right? They've got to go through 6 to 8 months worth of training with me before I'll put them out on their first wedding. I know it sounds, for some people that may sound crazy, but not with the way that I do my company. I want them at least to experience a lot of different things. You can't get a lot of experience which is under 3 or 4 weddings underneath your belt and go, okay, there you go off on your own. So I like to get like 6 to 8 months of training in them. So my goal is to hire somebody fairly quickly, see if they're going to last, if they're going to make it through, and then hopefully start booking them in the latter part of next fall, but ready to go by fall. But if I see they're going to last first, before I start booking them.
So in that one, Dan, he actually was not only but he started talking some action steps of what he's going to need in that one, which is obviously, you've got your different bases. You've got a time of your September 1st type of a thing where you want that. What you want to do is you want to hire this person. Now, if you would have said you wanted to grow your business, then hire a person by fall, that growing the business, with that part could be the what does that mean? Grow the business. Does that mean you book one extra show? But since you've already achieved that, that's not really part of the equation. The idea is that you want to have someone hired and ready to go by this time, and you need 6 months to train them. So that means you need to be hiring them next week.
Yeah, like literally no later than the end of February, 1st of March, if I'm going to put them out in September, October.
For surely. And it doesn't give you a whole ton of room or fudge factor as far as if that first person doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not going to start booking them until, I'd be fine with them going out in November for their first wedding. And they, and I'll fully be fully transparent, going, I got to make sure that you're going to stay, you like it, you're enjoying the job, something you want to do. Do you want to be, do you want to be away from your family? Because I look for more of a family guy, that person that has a reason to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so they usually stay longer if they have a reason to work. And that's usually new families, and one job just not cutting it. And with what I pay my DJs, you couldn't work at Target in an afternoon and make what we pay. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a great job. It's a great part-time job for working maybe 2 Saturdays a month or 3, whatever they want.
As I'm looking at the SMART acronym that Dan was just talking about, the one that probably seems to jump out at me as being the weakest of this is probably the achievable. And just because
Yeah.
we know how tough it is to find people, even you listen to others, Mike Walter talking about interviewing 75 people and getting, a half a person that turns up to the interview type of thing, that it's such a difficult. So that would really the part that stands out. Otherwise, every other part is probably in line with the SMART acronym.
I think what at least works in Cubby's benefit here, and the one thing that I applaud you on is the fact that, it's as Johnny McKay already mentioned it, right? Like you're not booking these events and then going to try and find the DJ, right? Like you're not in that position. You're going to try and find the person and then make sure they're ready before you really commit to those, or even commit to like a later start or a later time where they're kind of on their own. I think that becomes very beneficial because one, it allows you to kind of be more selective, right? To get, okay, 75 and I get half of a person, right? I'm gonna go, I'm gonna try and interview 200 people to be able to get who I might want out of that, and to be more picky if you need to.
We have a guy in our I don't even say it's our market. He's within our state, and he books everything and then tries to fence it out. I'm like, dude, you are gonna mess up somebody's big day. Somebody's not gonna be able to cover it. And I just could never do that to a couple. And be, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I don't have somebody for your DJ and you're 2 months out. What?
Mm-hmm.
So mine is I'm gonna hire him, train him, and then put him out.
And I think
That's me, and it's a little bit different.
and I think you're in a good spot from the standpoint as your business, the volume you have already achieved for this year, and from past experiences, it puts you on track to need that person by fall, and you can kind of semi predict that you'll have things ready to go if that you find the right person. Whereas I think one thing DJs do too often is they're like, "Ooh, I've got 3 dates that are fully booked this summer, and everybody's calling for the same date. I'm going to add 2 staff members," and yet there's 80% of the schedule that isn't even full with the current 2 or 3 DJs they have, and that just becomes this. It's a temptation. That like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I should have more staff, and then I had those 3 dates this summer when we're going to have everyone's out on those dates. But what about the other 15 prime wedding season dates? Cool.
Or they try to speed train them, and when they put them out when they're not ready,
Mm-hmm.
that could be more damaging than not having somebody for the day.
Very much so. Unfortunately. So I'll share the one goal that I have that is not business related, and my goal I set to this before the year is for those of you who have followed my personal Facebook page, you've seen that I do a little bit of running, and my goal for 2025 is to run throughout the course of the year 2,025 miles in the workouts that I do. So I have a deadline, December 31st. I have a distance. It's very specific that I have to run my little butt from point A to point B, and it has to, I basically achievable gets to be one of the bigger. That's probably one of my biggest questions in this, and it's obvious because I've never done anything that far. I mean, this past year it was like 1,700 and some miles that I ran. So we're looking at a kind of a big jump when you look at the year. But I also, had some injuries early in the year, so I didn't get as many miles in January and February. So as you look at it, though, in this particular case with this goal, is that this is a daunting. You look at it, running 2,000 miles is crazy. So it becomes, this is where we're taking goals into smaller actionable type steps. So in Cubbie's idea, I want to have somebody by September 1st. Well, great. How do I achieve that? What do I need to do? What do I need to be doing this week to work on that goal? What do I need to have done by next week? And he's going to have all these little mini goals of, having someone, interviewing some people and having someone hired, having someone trained, and there's this process. And the running part is the same way. Is that, okay, so 2,000 miles, if I break this down for the year, if we figure 52 weeks, but I'm going to take it back to 50 for easy math, roughly, I'm going to need about 40 and a half miles somewhere in that ballpark. Let's go 41 miles a week is what I'm going to need to get there. It'll be a little bit more than that. It'll be a little less than that. So 40, if I go 41 miles a week, and then you divide that out, and it's like, okay, what are my running days? I can figure out, how many miles I need to be on course to achieve this goal as I'm working towards this goal. Mine's pretty simple because it's so many miles a day, and if I don't run those miles today, I either pick them up tomorrow, or pick them up over a few more days, or I'm behind, and there I am. But I can see where my progression is and what I need to be working on to get there. And then I can celebrate little victories and knowing that, say, hey, 8 miles a day seems to be kind of the number that works for me. Well, if I'm doing 8 miles a day, and if I did 7 miles today, well, I got close, but I didn't achieve my daily goal that will lead to my eventual yearly goal. So I have to then, in order to get there, I have to do something different the next day, or however I need to do it. So there's the big goal. And then sometimes there's little actionable step goals or daily goals or small, shorter term goals that will get me to that big goal. And then we'll see how it happens. So that's my one and only one I set for this year.
And the math person who's done a little bit of running has gone, John, I love you. And if you attain this, I'm going to celebrate with you. But dang, boy. Yeah, I'm looking at my calculator going, I calculated how much you're going to have to run every day at the minimum if you run every day.
Yeah,
he doesn't run every day, though.
I don't know. I can't. I can only run 6 days a week. Most weeks I can run 6 days a week. But yeah, so.
All right. Well, I'm going to do new math here.
Yeah. Well, I figure in the course of a month, I can run. There's about generally, 1 day each week that I can't run. So there's 4 Thursdays I can't run. And then if you throw in another 3 miscellaneous days, so there's roughly about 22 to 23 days that I can run a month. Some months I'll be able to get a couple more, but some months maybe not. So if we figure 23, I need to be running about 200 miles a month.
He's working on it.
No, it just keeps going up because my original math when you were running every day was 5.5 miles, and then you're like, okay, I only run 6 days a week, so I took 52 days off of that. That took you up to 6.5 miles, and now if you're telling me you're only running 22 days a month, that's going to take you to 7 7.75 a day, or each time you run.
Yeah. So it'll be an interesting year, and thankfully, due to Dan's encouragement of stretching more, we're in a definite different spot than we were last year.
Yeah.
So
those and we're not talking health and everything else right now, obviously, but I just want to stress, and I cannot stress that enough for everybody watching, is find a stretching routine that is, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes, but ideally something that's up to 20 minutes, and try and do that daily. You will be amazed at just how you feel differently, even if you don't exercise, right? Even if you don't decide that you're going to go out and run, if you just start that stretching aspect, you will feel better. Your joints will feel better. Your back won't hurt as much. You'll be better, better posture, like all those good things will help. And then when you go to do events, you're going to be able to move, and you won't have the same aches the next day. It's going to be different for you. And then if you add exercise, that just makes it even better. But yeah, start small and just say stretch.
So long as we're in that kind of area, let's go through Eric's goal of putting his underwear on without falling over, because there's some aspects to what we've just been talking about. So let's just go through there, how we could rewrite that as an actual accurate and attainable goal. the specific, is it specific enough? Well, yeah, you're putting your underwear on without falling over, without any support. You probably should put in that, basically from a standing position to be able to put your underwear on. Measurable. Yeah, again, if you're either succeeding or you're going to fail. The problem is that we don't have any kind of a timing on this. And then, so the timing, whatever that timing would be, whether it's I want to be able to do it in a week, a month, whatever, we have to get to achievable. Is it achievable? Well, in order to be able to do this as we get older, this is where that stretching that Dan was just talking about and strengthening of your lower body specifically, but really your core from your upper body on down. Those are the little muscles that help keep you, to give you balance and stability and such. So to achieve this goal, say if Eric says, I want to be able to stand and put my underwear on in a week without falling over, I would say that's an unachievable. Knowing the human body and how it works and our ages and such, it would be unachievable for most people.
You're not able to do it currently.
You can't, if you can't do it currently, and a week you won't be able to do it because you just haven't had the time enough to build the foundation you need to get to that goal. In a month, maybe. In 2 months, better chance. 3 months, you're probably going to be able to do it unless you've got some physical limitations that won't allow you to do it. So let's put it out that Eric wants to be able to put his underwear on in it while standing without falling over in 90 days. Okay, so there we go. We've got our time in there. We've got what it is, and there. We've got that big goal. Now, how do we get there? What do we need? What are the elements that we need to get there? The action steps type of a thing to do that. And I'm business. It's whatever. And we're going to get into Dan's in a little bit to get his last 8. But in this case, it's that stretching. It's that yoga. It's Pilates. Whatever it is. But basically, doing something to help strengthen, to help your body become more limber, to be more flexible. Those things working together, flexibility, strength, those are going to get you to that point. Now, to achieve that, you're going to have to set, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 10 minutes of stretching and 10 minutes of Pilates every day between now for the next 90 days. And that will get you there. Whatever it is, but you have to have the goal and then have that process to get to that goal. And some of that will be or maybe I want to do 5 workouts a week, doing yoga for half an hour, 5 times a week. It's a measurable thing. You can either say, yep, I did. Yep, I didn't. It's not a time frame, and it's specific, and it works towards your big goal. So Eric, in 90 days, you could put your underwear on without falling over from a standing position. And it wouldn't be one of those things that, we need to see video or it didn't happen.
I'll take his word for it.
We'll take your word for it. Yeah. We trust you, Eric. We trust you. Okay, Dan, let's go to that. Let's jump back to yours with the 8 events in marketing. You had said that you had a goal in the marketing area. Let's dig into that.
Yeah. So this has been one of those things where I just feel like I'm not doing what I need to do to make myself more attainable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like exactly like you mentioned about what do I have to do to be able to get those 6 to 8? Because I've done a great job at having, kind of my name speak for itself. I've got venues that like me and refer me. And I've got some other DJ friends who, when they're booked, this is the person you need to call. If you can't have me, you need to have him. And so that's really worked well for me, but I cannot rely on that. And I don't think anybody should rely on that. If you're looking at your business marketing and that's the only place you're getting your business from, stop it. Like don't rely on that, because the second one of them decides to get out of the business, or the second, a venue changes hands of management, you're starting all over again, or potentially starting all over again. So I really recommend that you do this. So my thought was that I need to do something different with marketing. So I've found a couple different courses, we'll say. Well, I got 2 pieces of this, but one course that I'm doing as far as social media is concerned that is really kind of helping me put it in a frame of mind that works a little bit better. And then one of the videos that's going to be coming up, I have to upload it to you, John, talks about how to make those actions that you need to do a little bit easier to do. And one of it is by batching. So my goal is to use batching process of saying, okay, I'm not gonna do today's post now, or tomorrow's post now, and then Wednesday's post I'm going to do tomorrow night, and Friday's post I'm going to wait till Thursday. Like I'm going to do all of one aspect of it on one day, and then the next day I'll tweak the next part, and then I can schedule and do all of it at once. And that's the gist of what the video is going to say. Um, so my goal is to do 12 social media posts a month, um, through this process, through the year, to help with my marketing. That's one swing, we'll say, one arm, if we'll say, of my marketing plan. And I feel that that is one thing that is doable, attainable, and able to set up so that I can get that message out more.
Sure.
And that's probably a little bit more of an action plan than it is a goal. But my thought is, if I can do 12 a month, that's a decent thing. My hope is to do 16, but my kind of reasonable goal within it is 12.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very good, as you say, it is an action plan towards the goal of even the first one we talked about. But it's a just having that goal of being able to, get to the point where you can say, yeah, I did my 12 for the month. I've been successful. Ooh, now I can exceed expectations and go beyond it. Just that ability to achieve and be at or ahead, there's a feeling of success that comes with that. And I think that's something that we don't celebrate those little victories as much as we should when we have set a goal and we've attained that goal, even if it's a small one, where we need to have that pat on the back and say, yay, we did it. And that way it breeds more success down the road.
Well, from my personal standpoint, like those of you that are friends with me on Facebook, I don't post a lot. I end up sharing stuff like, or whatever. There might be pictures of the family, but I don't necessarily post a lot. And so it's always been difficult for me to kind of say, oh, well, now I need to do that within my business. Like I need to post a lot when I'm not that type of person to begin with. And so I needed to be able to find a way that I could ramp that up in a way that wasn't, also, for lack of better terms, teaching myself to post, right? Like I needed to find a way to be able to take care of both aspects of that, posting more and knowing what to post at the same time.
I think that's actually a good goal, though. I think that most all of us, it would be beneficial for all of us, because Cubbie is just a social media guru when it comes to this stuff, and he's on it all the time. But I mean,
I wish his feed. I wish there was something else on my feed besides Cubbie's post.
Yeah,
it'd be
nice. It's like how many times a day are you posting? I mean, you'd think that but I think that's definitely an area that I think we could all work on and have that goal of doing a level of success. Somebody just mentioned getting organized in the chat, and it's kind of like I want to do more social media posts goal. You can't measure it, or you're not having any kind of a little litmus test of when do I define myself as successful, or when have I defined myself as a failure. Not that I want to define myself as a failure, but let's just, when do I become successful, so I can say yay and take you out for Twinkies. That's important. So getting organized is great. But it would be, Day, I think, is mentioning organized music, organized whatever. A person's got to take, organizing music. Maybe it's organizing 50 songs every week and putting them into folders. So that way you have the time, you have what you're going to do, and you have a point where you can be successful and say, yay, it's Twinkie time. Twinkies. Yeah, turn the kids loose on social media. The boys,
that's a great sign.
They'd have loads of fun with that.
I love my son, but I've seen his posts. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
Maybe not for my business. Not for my business. Maybe if I want to do a comedy page.
Well, you never know. It could be fun.
Gotcha.
Okay, Cubbie, let's jump to your
Well, yeah, I was going to piggyback with Dan because, as you guys know, my social media is non-existent. So my goal is to be better at it and start posting more, like I'm supposed to, on different platforms. I'm not really good at it. So I didn't really set a number like Dan did. Mine was just to be, probably just to get started on it. So that was one of my goals. And then one that
I'm sorry,
Dave
you
was
said
talking.
that was one of your wishes?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's what
wishes.
I
Yeah,
thought. I thought you
not
said
really
it was
goal
a
because I don't
wish.
have an action plan. I don't have any of that stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, if it's a wish when it's like, oh, I want to be better. Well, that's a wish. Now let's talk about how do we turn that into a goal, Cubby?
true. Um, and then going on with Dave, another one of my thing was not really music organization, but I love where his head's at because I need to go through and set some key points on newer songs I've just downloaded from Promo Only. Mine was going to go through my DJ event planner and update a lot of my scheduled emails, make sure they're still relevant. Going through all that stuff that when they're going out, don't want to add emails, kind of cleaning up that area of some of my business. It's a little bit slower now than it is, but the leads are coming in crazy. So I'm still staying pretty busy, just not working as much 3 nights a week versus just 2 nights a week or whatever. So
Mm-hmm. So definitely a couple of areas in which a person could put together a goal with some time and things that would make it more attainable. Granted, you can have a wish and you can attain a wish. That's not that you can't, but it's a little easier once you've said to yourself that I'm going to edit 50 songs and put cue points in each week, or I'm going to social media wise, I'm going to learn everything I can learn in 1 week, or this week on Facebook, and then next week I'm going to schedule posts, and I'll be scheduling posts for the next X number of days for X number of days, and have that kind of an ongoing thing. However you'd put it together. I mean, obviously, with Dan's 12 posts a month, it becomes kind of a nice easy thing to hit when it comes to that. Definitely.
but I think they're Dan, I wouldn't get down on. I mean, I think I got leads in today for April 19th, and they're still coming in. They're not booking as far out as they used to back in COVID when people really had to.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot
Yeah,
of leads coming in for this year still.
right. And I don't and I don't think that's yes, I think the marketing needs to be improved because I think I need to improve it, right? I also know where my leads are coming from and some of the issues that need to be fixed potentially with that. It's not that, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind of where I was. I need to totally overhaul everything. I don't think it's that, but I think it's one of those things where if we want to add to our business, and this really kind of goes for anybody, but if we want to add to our business, I think it's important for us to not stop doing what we're doing, but add something to it. Right? If what you're doing is working, it's just not working as well, keep doing what you're doing, but then add to it. Add to an area where you're missing. Add to an area where you're not doing. One of the other things that I'm doing is I'm having a brand new website from scratch being made. And I read Alan Berg's new book that he did with Brian Lawrence about website design and SEO and everything else. I'm not designing the site, but because I read that book, I'm giving a lot more direction to my web designer so that the pieces that were very much lacking in my current site are getting improved. So that's that other arm that I was talking about. Um, but I recognize that we need to do more. Right? Then that's kind of my piece to it. Will I, if I didn't change, will I still hit the 18 to 20 this year? There's a good chance.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do this marketing, will it help with that? I believe so. I believe that's something I need to do. And I also want to recognize the fact that there are DJs in my area that get leads and weddings for dates that I don't hear crickets on. So and they're not the ones that are out doing 20 wedding shows. They're not the ones that are, paying umpteen, dollars to Google ads or anything like that. They're just doing social media and websites and having great relationships with vendors. Okay. So that kind of leads me to believe that I I need to emulate some of those same things because I have some of those same, some of those great pieces. I just am missing another piece. Will it make a big impact? We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it's not going to hurt my business to have this social media post. It's not going to hurt me to do what I'm doing in my viewpoint, and it can only benefit me long term.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other key. That's one of the other reasons why my posting was not just post more, right? It gives me that number of something to work towards, something to know when I've hit it for the week. It also is going to help me with the organization from the standpoint of when I'm posting, how many I'm posting, what days I'm using, all that kind of
Sure.
stuff to be able to hit that. Um, but it's also by having that, 12 a month, this doesn't end in April. This also doesn't begin in May when my events pick up and I've got all the event footage to use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've got to be realistic about this, that the leads are coming in now, they're searching now. I can't wait to have footage from a wedding, and yeah, I could use some of my past ones, but it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than just footage. They're not going to, I mean, footage is great, but they want more.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Cubbie, thoughts?
I have nothing on social media. I need to get better at it. I am not a help at all, at all. But do you do bridal shows at all? I don't do bridal shows.
Are you
Facebook
asking me
ads?
personally?
Yeah, Facebook ads.
No, and I don't do wedding shows. I have in the past done one. The show's gone belly up a couple years ago, so obviously don't even do that one now. I have another one that reached out to me, and I was thinking about doing the one. I personally, I know some people love them, some people hate them. I'm not a fan of them. I think because of partially of how they're done in my area. Um, it becomes one of those things where the people who organize them want to help you out. So in order for the people to win the prize, they got to talk to every vendor.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't need my service, now it's very difficult because now I have to give an elevator speech even faster because I got people trying to hand me stuff because they don't need me, but they need my signature.
Yeah, they need the stamp.
Um, and
Yeah.
and you can bring people along and all that stuff. I know there's tricks to make it work, but it becomes a lot of work for a day when I think I could use that energy in another area and have the same success, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
And Cubby, I may have a way to help you out. I may have a way to help you out become better at your social media um, without being completely crazy.
And I think that actually, Dan, as you were talking earlier, that making your life completely crazy, trying to attain the goal or working towards a goal, as you know, you're adding more things to your platter. That was part that was coming to my head, is that okay? As we add things to our platter, it's like everyone's busy. We always feel like we're super busy, and then all of a sudden we start, okay, my goal is this, and now I'm going to, in order to achieve that goal, I have to be making 17 pies every Monday morning and selling them, by Thursday afternoon, so I can make my, crack the nut for the week. It becomes, when does a person get themselves into a point where it's like, okay, so I've added this and I didn't take anything away, and I now I'm not even doing as good as I could with other things. That whole balancing act. And I'm not that we have an answer for it, but it just becomes a real part of the struggle.
Well, it does, but I think there's a lot of things. If we're being honest with this, I think everybody wastes time in some form or fashion. And this is something my wife and I have been talking about lately. And she was talking about something that she wanted to do, and I said, then do it. But I don't have time. Okay, I'm guilty of this just as much as you are. We sit down and what do? We get our phones out when we play games on our phone. If we took that 15 minutes or whatever that we played that game on the phone and used it for this instead, suddenly we have a little bit more time. And she's taking it hard because one of the things that she really had a goal for was to read more books. She didn't have a specific number in mind, but she
Mm-hmm.
wanted to read more books. She now puts her phone down kind of chills, lets her brain kind of, distress with a little bit of TV. And then she'll head off to bed and she'll read in bed for like a half an hour every night.
Sure.
Something before that she never had time for.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that aspect of looking for the things where you're not using your time effectively. There's also ways to look for things that will allow you to implement the new pieces more effectively. And I'll use the organization, right? So you want to get more organized with your music, right? There are softwares out there that will help you for putting cue points in, right? Without having to physically do every single song. And right, but that might not be the key points that you necessarily want, but they give you a starting spot to go from, right? And then there's other ones that will help you organize things into folders automatically. Yes, they all come at a cost, but if you have the money but not the time, something you can do. If you have the time but not the money, well then you're spending time with the computer hitting the buttons,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think there's different ways to go about that. But I also want to, when I talked about adding more to it, I wasn't fully thinking of adding more tasks to your plate, but rather when you're thinking about your business and the way that you're getting new business in, you know, if what you're doing is still bringing stuff in, and you can quantify it, right? Like, I know I'm getting leads from this source, then don't let that source die because you want to go in a completely different direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was referring to, more so than just throwing tasks on the pile.
Sure.
Because you're right, that can get overwhelming. And then the goal that you had suddenly doesn't become attainable because you have too much on your plate.
Precisely. So as we're getting towards the end here, you mentioned, of course, the idea of using one's time more effectively. And there are kind of even a couple of mentioned in the chat room things. I think that for some people that would be a great goal for the year, as far as a desire, a great wish for the year, to use the terminology like I was using earlier, to use your time more effectively. Now, how can we make a goal around that?
I would say and something I would say is find the things that you need to do that are activities that are stress relievers. I'll use the gaming, for example. Think about a time that is an effective use of that time and put a limit to that.
Okay.
I will waste time, whatever that might look like, for 15 minutes per day. And I will use a timer to keep myself on track for that. So that when I start, I'm not suddenly scrolling an hour later because wasn't watching the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that would be one way to reduce the time, would be to put a hard limit. Allow yourself that break. You're gonna need a break, right? Like for those of you that are like, I'm just gonna stop scrolling, and then I'm not, like Day talked about cutting Facebook in half. Okay, right? I think that's an okay thing. But if you were to say, I'm just not gonna go on Facebook, I think you'd find that it would be hard for you to fully step away. Or I'm not going to go on, whatever social media with the exception of my business, right? My business accounts. I think it would be difficult. Like I know some people who have done it for like Lent and for like, like people do dry January, right? Like the same idea, dry January of social media. I get it. But I think in the long run, it becomes a goal that you end up taking back and end up spending just as much time in the end. Um, so I think that would be one way
Mm-hmm.
is to put a hard limit on it for how much you allow yourself to spend on any given day.
And I think, like Day mentioning at half, cutting it in half, I think, realistically looking at it and admitting how much time we spend or how much is there that needs to be adjusted. Um, if a person's an hour, 2 hours, whatever that is, and then putting an actual that I will limit my social media scrolling to 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes or an hour or 4 times a day for 15 minutes, whatever it is, but knowing exactly what it is now and what your desired would be. So then, now I have 1 hour a day that I can put towards reading. And, there's these multiple, I want to read more. Great. I'm going to read for 1 hour a day, and I'm going to achieve that goal by reducing my social media experiences by setting them into 4 specific 15-minute blocks or whatever.
You hit on something very important there. If you're going to cut back, what is it that you're going to use that time for? like having that other end of the spectrum, right? Because if you don't, it's like, okay, I cut it back, but now what am I going to do with that time?
Mm-hmm.
Have that, whatever series of actions it might be. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's a few different things, but having that in mind, not that you need to fill every second of your day, but if you don't put something there, if you don't think about what the reason why you're cutting back is, you're probably more likely to also fall back into, well, what's a few more
Yeah,
minutes?
exactly. Yep. Very, very true. And those minutes that could be defined as your reading time, could be your exercise time, it could be your calling, calling a friend. And yes, that's maybe kind of fluff time where you're not getting anything really super productive done. But yet mental health, I think, is a often overlooked area, and spending 10 minutes talking to someone on the phone or connecting via a chill room type of a thing can play huge benefits to your effectiveness of being able to perform mentally down the road. So there's definitely places and things to use that time for, but I think that idea, as Dan said, defining it is fabulous, because if you don't define it, you'll lose it. Well, so folks are putting some thoughts and things together, so excellent. Good stuff. So let's see. Next week, we'll be back on Monday nights, but next week I'll be kicking off an interview show, the weekly interview show. I wonder if I have the calendar up here so I can tease a couple of weeks as we've got coming up here. Let's see. So we're going to start the interview show next Monday, and my first guest, and these will be going on at 8:00 on Monday night, right before our regular Monday night show. So next Monday night, I've got MJ coming back to be on the show with me. We're going to kind of catch up with MJ. And then Tuesday night next week, the 21st, I've got Eric Rhodes, who will be joining me. And we'll be talking business, talking lessons of things that they have learned in life, and give you guys some things, some applicable and actionable things that they have experienced, they have learned, they have done, and they can share that knowledge and experience with you. And that will be next week on the 20th and the 21st. So, but yeah, it will be, I think we have got somebody scheduled pretty much every Monday and Tuesday for at least a month and a half now. A lot of folks jumped in.
Those are two great starters right there.
Yeah.
MJ and Eric Rhodes. Eric Rhodes is amazing.
Yeah, there's some. It was definitely fortunate to get those guys to jump in right away. So I'm excited to do that. And again, that'll be at 8:00 Eastern Monday, and then at 9:00 Eastern we'll be here, and then at 10:00 Eastern it'll be in the chill room, DJNTV.com/chill, which is where the guys are going to be in just a few minutes. The whole gang will be there, so you can bounce out there and hang out and chat and have some fun. All right, I think we take time to take it home, Dan.
All right, we are at that time. It went fast tonight.
Yeah,
but I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Hopefully, it got you thinking about your own goals and how maybe they may have started out maybe a little generic, and how you can make them into the SMART goals that we talked about, and just making them really something you strive for and reach and be able to have success with in 2025. Thank you very much for having us tonight in your house and on your computer, wherever you're at. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks.